Hey guys, welcome to another episode of TheCompletionist. Anyway guys, my apologies that I haven't made a video in a long time, even though I have been home since the middle of December, but for some of my closest friends, they know that 2016 was particularly rough in my life with regards to my job and going through the Fort McMurray wildfire situation and things along those lines. So I really wanted to take some time off just to kind of focus on myself and doing things that that made me happy, because I will be heading back to Alberta within the next week. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been making videos lately. And but like I said, I feel a lot better now. I'm pretty much ready to go back to work, and I sincerely hope 2017 is a lot better than 2016 for me personally. So I thought this would be a good time now to get some videos out. So anyway, guys, for this video, I'm gonna do a top 5 list. I don't think I've really done that on my channel. It's really hard for me to do top 5 or top 10 lists, for a variety of subjects, because I don't know, I don't feel comfortable doing top 5 or top 10 lists unless I've experienced as much as possible with regards to the subject that I'm talking about. That's one of the reasons why I haven't done my top 5 or top 10 favorite games for particular systems, because the nature of my work and how little free time I have, I don't nearly get as much time to play games as what I wish I would. But for today, I wanted to take on a fairly easy subject, and it's very easy for me to come up with a top 5. And that is going to be my top 5 most desired video games that I want for my collection. The thing is I don't collect video games as much as what I used to, just simply because I don't have the time, and it's not only because of that, but over the last couple of years, the economy, especially in Canada, has kind of hit the shitter lately, and I'd rather be using any extra funds, to kind of save for a rainy day, and I don't really get much of an opportunity to play games and even buy them. With regards to this generation of consoles, I haven't really jumped into it at all, minus the odd exception. I really thought to myself that that 2016 was going to be the first year that I was going to go without buying a brand new video game system, or even to buy a video game release that was released in that year, and I actually came pretty close, but unfortunately I broke that rule right in the middle of December, when this game came out, which was Final Fantasy 15. And my wife ended up finding a great deal on a PS4 secondhand, so we decided to buy it because the price was kind of too good to be true. And frankly, with regards to the PS4 library, there isn't really many games that I'm particularly interested in, despite the fact that the system does have a lot of anime style titles. But one game we had to get for the system was definitely Final Fantasy 15. And it was actually a pleasant experience, and this is coming from a guy that literally had no hype behind Final Fantasy 15 at all. I had watched the demos, I never played any of the demos, I never kept on top of any of the news or anything along those lines. But one of the best things I take out of Final Fantasy is that my wife and I actually played and beat the game together. She did the main quest, I did all the side quests, and it was a really good experience. And I hate to say it, I think Final Fantasy 15 is one of the better Final Fantasy games I played throughout the entire series. So that may be a video that I might want to make, while I'm home, to talk about my impressions of Final Fantasy 15. But with regards to my video game collecting, all of you guys know, I have very strict rules, when it comes to collecting video games. I think even in 2016, I think I only bought 2 retro titles, just because I never really had much of an opportunity to search for retro games or things along those lines, and you all know that like I gave up collecting 8 to 16-bit systems, and just because the majority of the games that I do buy are online, and unfortunately the counterfeit market is pretty huge now, especially with the prices of certain video games being so high, so I just don't trust buying games online anymore. And for me, like I finished quite a few of my video game collecting goals, throughout all the years I've been collecting video games. Like I said, to this day I have 4 of my video game collections finished, which are the Sega Saturn, the Sega CD, the Sega Dreamcast, and the Panasonic 3DO. But I still have other systems that I would like to finish my anime style game lists for that were released in North America. For the other systems that I actually collect for, such as the N64, the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, PSP, DS, and things along those lines. So, and usually for all these systems, I do have a checklist. I do have a checklist of the games that I actually want to buy for this system. So, as I said before in the video, the one thing that I want to do is I want to share with you guys what my top 5 most desired games are. Now, these are in no particular order, but when I visit a retro game store or anything along those lines, these are the highest games on my priority to find. And one thing you got to understand, especially when I collect video games, I don't do the flea markets, I don't haggle, I don't do any of that kind of stuff. It's just not me, it's not my personality. For me as a video game collector, I accept responsibility for what the market dictates, and for me, I am happy to pay for games what their value generally dictates. But for me, collecting for as long as I have, I know when something's priced too high and that I won't purchase it whatsoever. But if it's something that I want, I'll just eventually save my money for and eventually get it. So I'm hoping in 2017, I'll find at least one of these 5 titles so I can so I can add it to my video game collection, because my wife and I are hopefully planning a trip down to the U.S. this spring, but we have to wait and see if I can get the time off or if it's possible to do so. So anyway, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the game right there for everyone that I'm going to talk about, and I'll give you my price range and what I'm willing to pay for it. So anyway, guys, the first game with regards to my most desired video games is for the PS1, and this game I've been after for a really long time. It came out during a time in which I didn't even own a PS1. It came out during a time in which I was only really beginning to start to get into JRPGs, and it is actually the first title in a very beloved JRPG series that made its way to North America. And the funniest thing of all is this game is not necessarily the rarest or the most expensive out of the series, and it's not even probably one of the more expensive titles out of the PS1 JRPG library, or even anime style library. There are still other more expensive games for the PS1 that I don't own yet that dictate a higher price tag. Like the Misadventures of Tron Bonne and Brigadine. But the one game I've been searching for a really long time, but I never have any luck finding it. I can't see it in game stores a lot, and I got really jealous, when my best friend managed to find a copy for himself, and that's the original Tales of Destiny for the PS1. A couple of years ago, on one of my trips to Seattle with my wife, I actually found a copy of Tales of Destiny 2, which is Tales of Eternia. In Seattle at one of the Pink Gorilla locations, and I paid about 100 American for it. And generally, Tales of Destiny 2 goes for a lot more money than what the original Tales of Destiny does. But this one seems to be in really short supply. I don't see it that often, and I think the only copies of the game I ever saw was I remember seeing one you know, in a video store, you know, that archaic age back in the day. And there was one time in Fort McMurray in which somebody was selling it at a video game event, but during the winter season I don't get a lot of hours, and you know, generally I don't get a lot of money, so you know, I seen it there, but you know, I just couldn't pay for it. I didn't have the money to do so, and I'm not going to put myself into credit card debt just to get a game that I own. So you know, generally, you know, it's a very well respected Tales entry. You know, anyone that I do know that has played this game has actually thoroughly enjoyed it. But with regards to the PS1 titles, this is the one that I'm after the most. And there aren't very many JRPGs I actually need for the PS1, but this is the biggest one that I want to find for that system. So, you know, who knows? I might be able to find it, or I might not. Now, with regards to price, you know, just checking eBay and just checking a lot of price guides with regards to the game. If I see the game priced anywhere between $80 to $140, I'm going to purchase it. No questions asked. If the game is in like new or in pretty good condition, that's the prices that I'm willing to spend for it. Because trust me, when it comes to being a completionist, I can get my money out of pretty much any game that I buy, especially if it's a JRPG. All right, guys, for the second game, it's a PSP title. The reason why this game is so high demand, with regards to my personal tastes, is mainly because of my own ignorance. Because I used to see the game at EB Games all the time, and I never really thought anyone wanted this game. I thought, you know, I could walk into the store and, you know, pick it up at any time, and that'd be the end of it. Because you know, I used to keep on top of a lot of the PSP anime style games that used to come out, especially if it was in one of those box sets, you know, like the Ease games, and you know, Trails in the Sky, and you know, the Lunar game for the PSP. If any of those PSP games had a collector's box, you know, I stayed on top of it. But this one I completely missed out on, and which is kind of strange, because when this game came out, you know, I was pretty much right on top of new releases, especially when it came to anime style games. But this completely slipped underneath my radar. And you know, I seen it there, but I was in no rush to buy it, because I always thought there was going to be enough copies to actually get it. And when EB Games started to slowly phase out their PSP games, I could never find it. And that game is Crimson Gem Saga. You know, Forest Reviews did a really excellent review on this game back a couple of years ago. And I've been trying to find this game for a long time, for at least the last 3 to 4 years. And because preferably I would like to, I only buy games online as a last resort. You know, personally, you know, I'd rather see the game there, I'd rather see what I'm buying, you know, make sure it's, you know, in really nice condition, you know, things along those lines. Because, you know, unfortunately, I am a stickler for condition. I'm not one of those types of guys that wraps his valuable games in hard plastic or anything along those lines. That's just not me. If that's your style of collecting, all the power to you, but that's just not me. Pretty much all my games sit on the shelf the same way, so they're not protected or like anything along those lines. But yeah, Crimson Gem Saga, you know, from what people have told me, you know, it's actually a really stellar JRPG for the system, and quite possibly an underrated one. But I did not know that the game had a short print run, because I don't see the game anywhere. You know, I've been to a lot of video game stores over the last 3 years. I just never see it for sale. I've seen more. I've seen the more hard to find PSP titles for sale, like Hexus Force and a few others. But just something about Crimson Gem Saga, I can't. I just can't find it. You know, eventually, maybe for this one, I might have to purchase it online. You know, if if I can't find a copy of it at any game store. And there's not really very much to say. It's just your standard turn-based JRPG. But a lot of the reviews that I've seen for it, it's pretty solid. It doesn't do anything revolutionary, but supposedly the story is really good and it has some really solid gameplay. And that's another game that's pretty much on my hit list. Now, with regards to like what I'm willing to pay for it, let me just check. I wrote the prices next to each game. Generally, it's not one of the more expensive PSP games. Like the prices that I usually see for it online usually go from anywhere from 30 to 60 bucks. And but in all honesty, it's like I said before, I never see it. To be honest, ever since EB Games started phasing out their PSP games, I've never seen it for sale at a video game store. So I must be going to the wrong video game stores, or I guess there's a lot of other gamers that are after this game as much as I am. Alright, on to the third game. Third game is for the Gamecube. Surprisingly, it's not. It's a fairly cheap game, actually. It's not even one of the more high demand games on the Gamecube. Such as Tales of Symphonia, or Eternal Darkness, or Ikaruga, or things along those lines. But I've never seen it for sale in the wild ever. And it's kind of funny because this game is based on a cartoon that used to come on YTV back in the early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s. And obviously, one thing you're going to notice with all these games, yes, they are all anime style, and they're all JRPGs or hybrids or things along those lines. And I really enjoyed this cartoon. It was a Saturday morning cartoon. I used to watch it all the time back in university. And it was actually really good and really enjoyable. And the cartoon was Metabots. And it's one of those cartoons I never see a lot of people talk about, but it was actually, quite fun. And it actually had a really solid English dub to it, and it was really quite humorous, especially anything that involved Mr. Referee. And basically what Metabots is, it's kind of maybe a little like Pokemon, in which a little boy or an adult has their robot, and they battle against other people and their robots. And if you win, you get to steal a part from your opponent's robot, and things along those lines. And it was actually a really good cartoon, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Natsume made a game for it on the Gamecube called Metabots Infinity. And I never see this game for sale. Never. I have never recalled seeing this game for sale. Not even when the Gamecube was released. I never seen it. I've never seen this game at any retro video game store. And it's not even that expensive. Like I said, I've looked the game up online, and it generally averages anywhere from $20 to $40. It's kind of like semi-open world arena battle, with some RPG elements to it, and from what people say, it's not necessarily the greatest game, but it's still relatively solid. You can get your fun out of it if you want. But despite the lack of seeing this game out in the wild, it's a game that I never see a lot of gamer YouTubers talk about either. I see, I've watched a lot of videos, with people's GameCube collections, and this game is not in their collection, and it's probably my most desired GameCube game right now, just because of how obscure it is. And thankfully, as I said before, the prices aren't too high on it, and it's really based on a cartoon that I have fond memories about, that I used to watch in the early days of being in university. And if you haven't seen Metabots, I highly recommend you check it out. It's actually quite enjoyable. And but I don't know of anyone who's even played this game, let alone own it. So it might just be one of those short print GameCube games that that a lot of people had no idea about, because usually when you think of Natsume, you know, you usually think of the Harvest Moon series, but yeah, they actually had their fingers in other licenses as well, and it's a game I always keep an eye out, you know, when I'm shopping for as well. All right, on to the fourth game. So the fourth game is a DS game. Basically, the reason why I want this game so bad is because I had a chance to get it, but I let my own ignorance get the better of me, and I thought the game was going to be easily available, and it wasn't. Much like a lot of JRPGs, you know, for the PSP and DS and other portable systems, a lot of them do have short print runs, and if you don't get them within the first week or two, then you're never going to get them, and they're going to become really hard to find. And it's an Atlas title for the DS, and it's a very obscure JRPG, based on a princess, and you know, it's quite a humorous take, you know, on the JRPG genre, but it's another game that I never see anybody talk about, or I don't think I've seen anyone ever show a copy of this game, you know, with regards to people showing their DS collections, and that game is My World, My Way for the Nintendo DS. It's pretty much the same story like with Crimson Gem Saga. I seen this game for sale at EB Games when it was first released, but I was in no rush to get it, and I thought it was going to be readily available because nobody had heard of it, and you know, I thought I could, you know, pick it up maybe a couple of weeks later, and all of a sudden, after 2 or 3 weeks, the game disappeared, and it pretty much disappeared from every location, and I could never find it. Now, the funniest thing I find about this game, though, is that I don't see copies of this game on sale on eBay or other sites a lot. And usually when the game is for sale, it's loose. And, you know, and my DS games, you know, I like to collect them and buy them, you know, when they're complete, and, you know, things along those lines. But you know, if you type in My World, My Way in eBay, you know, a lot of the ones you'll come up with is just the card, just the little card only, and not the box. So I'm thinking that this DS title is incredibly obscure, incredibly hard to find, and probably just probably a game that maybe some people aren't interested to play, but they just want to, you know, exploit it, you know, for its monetary value. But because if you do find a complete one online, you know, it is one of the more pricier DS games. You know, it averages anywhere between 40 to 80 bucks, and there's not too many DS games that I can think of that really dictate a price tag over 60 bucks. So it is one of the more expensive DS titles to own. But I don't really know a lot about this game because I never see a lot of people talk about it. I don't really expect anything stellar, but you know, if Atlas is involved, then you're going to have maybe a little bit of humor, a little bit of obscurity. But it's a title, you know, I eventually want to own, you know, when I get back into video game collecting again. But other than that, there's not really much else to say about the title. So eventually I'll find it. It's just a matter of time. Alright guys, on to the final game. Now, this game is for the 360. This game isn't necessarily hard to find. It's not necessarily in high demand, but I have a very strange history with the 360 because I still have the original 360 that I bought. Not when it was first released. I bought it like 5 or 6 years later. And even to this day, I have not put one physical game in that system. All the games that I've ever played on my 360 have been on the XBLA. And to be honest, there's very little games that I want for the 360. You know, the 360 does have a lot of great anime style games, and but I think I might only have maybe 10 or 11 physical games in my collection, and I haven't put any of them in the system yet. And the game that's on my hit list for the system is a game that I've seen a lot of people make videos about, but it was just one of those games I completely missed out on. I didn't know about it until I heard people started talking about it, and then the moment people started talking about it, then the game started to become a little harder to find. It's probably one of the best games that still uses the turn-based RPG formula, because unfortunately you just don't see a lot of that these days, and not especially from major console releases. You know, it's usually a lot of action-based JRPGs and things along those lines. But I haven't heard one person say a bad thing about this game, and I actually look forward to playing it because people have told me that the battle system is solid, the story is wonderful, the characters are wonderful, and it's just a really good game all the same. And that game is Lost Odyssey for the 360. I was gravitated towards this game. I think the Happy Console Gamer did a really excellent review on this game, you know, a long time ago. And you know, I've been to a lot of retro game stores, never see it for sale, ever. So I guess there's a lot of gamers that are after it, because I wasn't too sure, you know, if the game was a JRPG at first, because when I seen the box art, you know, it was kind of straddling that line, you know, on its look, if it was a JRPG or if it was not a JRPG, and I didn't bother to do any research into it. But one thing with the 360, especially in the early days of the 360, you know, the 360 tried really hard, you know, to cater to the gamer audience that loved the JRPGs, because for any gamer, you know, especially within the first couple of years of the 360, they had an amazing JRPG lineup. They used to get specific JRPGs before the PS3 did, and not only that, but they also had their own console exclusives, you know, such as Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. But you know, they even put out games like Eternal Sonata and Star Ocean: The Last Hope, and Enchanted Arms, and long before the PS3 did. And I remember hearing a rumor that when the 360 released Tales of Vesperia, you know, I heard a story that Tales of Vesperia out in Japan literally helped sell out every 360 in the entire country, because at that time the PS3 didn't have a Tales game, and the 360 got the rights to that Tales game for that system only. But yeah, Lost Odyssey is one game I really want to add to my collection, and I know a lot of my fellow friends who like JRPGs have played the game, and it is immensely enjoyable, but I just haven't had any luck finding it, you know, at local game stores, or even at game stores in cities that I end up visiting throughout the years. So, but eventually, one way or another, guys, I will eventually get these games one way or another. You know, if I wait long enough, I might find it in a game store, or I might just bite the bullet and just buy it online, and just hope that what I get is a really nice looking product, because, you know, unfortunately I'm a stickler when it comes to condition. But you know, when you collect anything, you know, you always take that risk when it comes to buying anything online. So those are literally my most 5 desired video games right now. So will I get any of them this year? You know, only time will tell, but like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. With regards to my video game collecting, guys, you know, I'm waiting for the economy to improve a little more, you know, before I start getting back into it heavily again. Right now, the systems that I'm actively collecting for right now are the PSP, the PS1, and the Gamecube. Those are the 3 systems that I'm working on right now. I already got my anime game lists done up for them, and it's just a matter of just filling out the rest of the lists. And I don't know, maybe in the next year or two, you know, I'll have another video game collection finished with regards to collecting. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video with regards to what my 5 most desired video games are. And like I said, you know, it's good to be back to YouTube, so I hope to get a few more videos made before I have to go back. So as always, guys, take care, and I wish you nothing but the best. Later.